So, Jeff,
Yes, Jama.
we've just celebrated our first whole year working together.
Uh-huh.
Pretty unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, I just have to ask, is it as fabulous as you thought it was going to be?
It's everything I thought it would be and more.
Took me a long time, only 4 years, to talk you into working with me.
Yeah.
So, I just have to ask, I'm just curious. Now, be nice. What was your reservation of working with me?
We have very different approaches and very different work styles. So
True.
we both get there, but it's in a different path. So it was just that, and just us spending that much time together, away from work and at work.
True, but as we found, we really don't have to spend time together. We don't really spend a lot. We still work our businesses and our things, right?
Yep.
It is so funny, though, how different we work, because like even looking up a listing or something on the MLS, how you go about it and how I go about it are completely different. Cracked me up when we were looking for that property the other day. I was just like, what are you doing? And you're like, I'm doing it my way. And you do. It's so funny to me how many different ways you can do this business and be successful.
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Well, so I feel like we should talk a little bit about what's going on in the market today.
Sure.
And why don't we just go ahead and talk about condos right now, because we do a fair amount of business in the condo realm. A lot of condo listings.
Right. Well, the condo market has definitely had a drastic shift in the past few years. I mean, we had the tragic collapse down in Sunrise, Florida, a few years back with the Surfside condos. And as a result of that, post-tragedy, they found that there was a lot of deferred maintenance, a lot of things that were neglected with the maintenance of that particular building. And the Florida legislature took an in-depth look at condo buildings throughout the state, and they put some different legislation into effect. It was a comprehensive bill, SB 4D, and then
Senate Bill 4D.
Senate Bill 4D. And it basically looked at, it had an initial rollout, but then its final version, or the version that's in play at this point in time, calls for any condo that's 30 years or older, 3 stories or higher, has to have a milestone inspection done, and then a structural integrity reserve study done by its 30th anniversary. And then there's
so let's talk about that.
A lot of requirements.
The milestone inspection. And that has to be done by like a structural engineer
or an architect.
Yep. It's like a major, every
comprehensive look at the building structure and all the main components of the building, looking at the balconies, the landing areas, the fire suppression system, the roof, the foundation. It really dives in and looks at everything.
And it's sad that a tragedy like down there at Surfside, that it took something like that for this to be actually put into place, because there's a lot of condos, not just in Brevard County, but like all over, that are, 70s, built in the 70s, 60s, that really, they've been fine, status quo, and they just kind of kicked that maintenance down the road, and they just haven't really stayed up on things.
Well, they didn't know what they didn't know.
They didn't know what they didn't know.
Is part of it. And prior to the collapse and the legislation, pretty much any condo that set aside 10% of their HOA fees in a reserve account, and it could be a pooled reserve account that didn't really take into account remaining useful life of the different assets, and it basically just kind of all went into a pool. And as long as you had, at that point, 10% or more, then that condo is considered warrantable. And you could typically get conventional financing on those properties.
So warrantable, that means you can get financing. It doesn't have to be cash. So to what you just said, all the different categories, now that enters the SIRS, right? The Structural Integrity Report. What's that? What's the last S? I forget.
Reserve study. Structural Integrity Reserve study. It's a forensic analysis of the budgeting.
Right. And that is like 10 different accounts.
I
for
think
the
there's
AC.
I think there's like 8
Is there-
actually, but
I was thinking there was 10, but
yeah.
maybe there is. But like for the AC, for the roof, for the different components, and now the condo associate, they have to have a amount of reserves for each one of those things, earmarked for each one of those things, and they have to be brought into the fullness of it based on the life expectancy.
Yep.
So,
and actually what it's roof, load-bearing walls, flooring and foundations, fireproofing and fire suppression, plumbing and electrical, windows and exterior doors, and any other structural elements affecting safety. So what has to happen is for every one of those condos, they have to have a separate reserve account set up for each of those component pieces, and it has to indicate what the remaining useful life is of that particular component piece and how much the replacement cost is going to be when it's time to replace it.
Right.
And what they do is they really look at what is the balance that they have allocated versus the remaining useful life versus the replacement cost. And you can pretty easily come up with an estimate of where you're going to have problems and where, you can even kind of look and see approximately based on the anticipated cost, how much those assessments are going to look like.
So I just thought of this, but I think this is it's setting everything back because there's so many people, so many condo associations that were completely unprepared for this, right? And so we're seeing and this is what's part of the that's going on in the condos, and it's I think going to get worse before it gets better. But we're seeing drastic assessments and drastic increases in HOA fees. But in the long run, I actually think this is going to reduce assessments once everybody's up to speed with all their reserves and all their things. Then you're not going to have surprise assessments where the elevator went out.
Well, that's the whole intent of the legislation.
That's going to be a really good thing for condo owners. You're not going to have to worry about these big giant assessments when the roof needs to be replaced and you didn't have enough reserves. So in the long run, like 10 years down the road, it's going to be a good thing. But right now, there's a whole big brouhaha about it. Like it's just
there are some great complexes out there.
Oh yeah, and newer ones that. Yeah.
And newer complexes that have really set themselves up for success, and they have the proper reserves set aside, and they've been very fiscally responsible with managing the HOA reserves and everything. And there's a lot of them that are great buys, and they're going to be great. And
of course there's the other factor is insurance, which isn't part of this, but that also can increase HOA fees. But that's just one of those things in Florida that the insurance in Florida is it's trying to get corrected with having more competition
condos.
Come in,
with condos, as you know, you've got a master insurance policy, and that's typically the largest single component part of where the HOA fees go in any specific complex.
But those have also seen a big increase.
Of course.
At the same time this is all going on. So it's like this perfect storm of yuckiness.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so that.
But touching on that too, I know there's a lot of people out there who really, the dream is to have that oceanfront property. The dream is to live close to the beach in retirement and have a low maintenance lifestyle and be able to see those great, sunrises over the beach and really
beautiful.
Yeah, and really enjoy that. And there are still a lot of options, some of the more boutique complexes that are not 3 stories or higher. There's some great half duplex opportunities out there, townhouse opportunities out there, small bungalow beach homes that are out there that would really afford you that opportunity to have that great beach lifestyle and not have to face a huge HOA fee and huge assessments and all those types of things. So there's that. And then there are some very well-run complexes that have completely navigated through the milestone and the SRS, and they even have forecasted budgets out for the next 10 to 20 years. And you can look at those and you can see basically how they anticipate the funding being and what percentage do they anticipate being as far as reserve funding for the next several years. And those are ones that you can have more confidence in because they've planned adequately and they really have a good grasp of where they're at with their finances and with their reserves. So there still are some good opportunities out there, but I think you really need someone who knows the market well and someone who can kind of help you navigate through that process.
All right, so cool. So shifting gears,
Okay.
let's go to our first-time home buyers.
Yep.
And
Well, throwing that back on you, because I know, like when you started out in real estate, a big chunk of your business was dealing with a lot of people within your sphere and their children, and their children were buying their first home, and you were very instrumental in helping them make a good decision and kind of analyzing their circumstances. And so what are some of the things that you would recommend for first-time home buyers that they really need to understand before they embark upon that journey?
Yeah, so I used to do, we probably should do another one, it's not coming up, but I've done the first-time home buyer seminars because I really think just even the language, right, the words, the vocabulary, when people are throwing around acronyms constantly, and you're a first-time home buyer, and maybe you don't. I know when I bought my home the first time, I didn't want to look stupid, so I didn't ask questions because I was kind of like the youngest one in the room, and I was like, I don't want to look dumb. But when I work with first-time home buyers and we work with them, I always want to educate. I always teach as we go because I want them to fully understand the whole process. That, buying a first home is super scary, but it's also super exciting. And, knowledge is power. When you know what you're doing, you're choosing to do that. And it's a good thing instead of going, oh, I didn't know that, or I didn't, So, for first-time home buyers, we always walk, hand in hand all the way through. But I think, hooking them up with a good lender, because usually first-time home buyers are not paying with cash, although occasionally we've had a few, but from California, but usually they're not. But yeah, getting them connected with a really good lender who also I like teachable lenders as well, so that they teach the process and the interest rates and the escrow and your property tax and, all the things that go into making your mortgage payment. And I have found recently, and I would say the last probably four years, I feel like the younger, and typically your first-time home buyers are younger, but not always. But I find it very refreshing that they might qualify for a $500,000 house, but they want their payment over here, so they're looking at $350,000 houses. I think that is fantastic to not be house poor, because there was a different generation, my generation actually, we were more house poor because we wanted the great big whatever. And I love the fact that they're a lot more fiscally responsible, it seems like. But yeah, but all of these factors go into buying a home. A good lender. It takes a great team, right? And again, also with the closing, the title company, I always like a teachable title agent, not just one that just says sign this, sign this, sign this. What are you signing? Explaining it, so that they feel good about what they're doing, because it's a scary process, but it's even scarier when you have no idea what's going on and you're just signing your life away, So, but yeah, then of course the other part of it is really fine-tuning what it is that they're looking for, right? We always talk about location is something you can't change, right? That's something you need to kind of know where you want to be, close to work. Is there certain, school zones, whatever it is, if you have a family, whatever, things like that. And then of course, floor plans, that's another kind of important part. It's a lot more costly to fix a floor plan. So finding a floor plan if you want it split plan or, on the same side bedrooms. But really kind of fine tuning what you're looking for, I think.
What about the costs? What are some of the costs you think that surprise first-time home buyers?
Well, so they're always thinking about their mortgage payment, and they're thinking about it principal and interest, and they're forgetting that property taxes and insurance play into that. And of course, in Florida, our property taxes are kind of very convoluted and not easy to figure out. Some of it's prorated and some of it's paid in the arrears. And so if you can find a property that's already been homesteaded, then you get to ride part of that previous owner's homestead with your with your property tax. And then, of course, the next year you do homestead, so that you're able to keep your tax down. But, again, if there's a house that's in the right location with the right floor plan and in the right budget, and that wasn't homesteaded, you just know that you might have a year of a higher payment, but it'll come back down once you homestead. But those are like little factors. And then, of course, insurance, you want to make sure that you kind of know ahead of time, and we can find all those things out during, the inspection period, so they're not stuck.
I think something important, too, that sometimes they're really taken in by a nicely remodeled kitchen or a really great looking bathroom or what have you. and
Or the
helping
paint
it.
color and the flooring.
Well, yeah, but helping those first-time home buyers understand that, yeah, the aesthetic is something that may appeal to them to a great extent. However, they want to make sure, or we want to help them to make sure that the basic systems of the house are in great shape to where they're not going to encounter any major expenses with the plumbing, the electrical, the HVAC, the roof in their first few years of ownership. I mean, you can never see into the future with a crystal ball, but we want to help them ensure that all of those pieces that are big ticket items are in great shape.
It's another piece of the team, the inspector.
Right.
Well, and I always, you're like a spider monkey. I love when we go together to do showings because there's certain things that I look at and immediately you're outside looking at if it's a stucco home, are there cracks in the stucco? Is there moisture anywhere? You're out there checking all those things, which I think is so valuable. And we teach the clients that we have what we're looking for. And also, Florida has its own set of repairs and own set of maintenance that's different than up north, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I know I had a client once, they were shocked that there was no gutters on a house, that they weren't on all the houses. And I said, oh no, in Florida, it's not it's actually an extra usually. It's not an automatic thing. And up north, I guess it's an automatic thing. So these are just differences that when, you move to an area that's different. Same thing with the AC, taking preparation of that water line to make sure it stays clear. Just all kinds of things like that. We always come from a teachable place so that when they're buying this, it's just an investment. Because, if you were raised in Florida even, but you didn't know, your parents didn't do those things, you don't know. You don't know to do those things, to go around every year and look at your outside and see if there's any cracks in the stucco that need to be sealed or whatever. So, yeah.
Yep.
Definitely good points.
Well, let's talk about maybe our clients that are finding that they're outgrowing their current home, that, they've got, with the shift where a lot of folks were working from home more, needing that additional flex space, or the planning on expanding the family, and maybe in the past a 3-bedroom house or even a 4-bedroom house was fine, but now they just need more space. So what are some important things that they should be looking at in a decision to potentially buy something bigger?
When we talk to our first-time home buyers, I always usually say, I know that you might think this is the house you're going to have forever, but usually it's not. And so when you come to that time where you have to upsize, I like to say right size, right? Because sometimes we have downsizing as well. You've got people that have children that have graduated and they're ready to downsize. But, again, it's location. By this point, you kind of have an idea. When you're upsizing, you've got a family growing or whatever, and you have an idea of what type of lifestyle you want. Do your kids play a lot of sports? Is there certain activities that they need to be around? Is your work, are you spending way too much time commuting? That kind of thing. You have an idea. Or if you play golf and you want to be near the golf course or whatever those things are. So again, starting with the location first, and of course the budget, what are we looking at? Because there's
specific needs.
And specific needs, exactly.
What would make that a better home for you and your family?
Right. 1-story, 2-story.
Because it isn't just a matter of more square footage being a better home.
No, not at all. Exactly. That's what I mean. Location first, based on your lifestyle. And I think sometimes it's not natural always for people to understand that. They'll just be online, on Zillow or whatever, looking at pictures, and they see a house that, this is 3,000 square feet. That's going to be good. But really understanding you and your family and your lifestyle, your activities, the things you love to do, and then finding a home that meets and fits that area, that's the first place I start, right? And by the time it's your second house, you have an idea. Do you want to be right next to your children and all the bedrooms on one side, or do you want a split plan? Do you want your primary downstairs and your kids upstairs, or vice versa? You have a much better idea. But it's asking those questions and getting it out of your client that I think makes such a good thing, because it really narrows everything down for them.
The amount of parking, if you've got teenagers
exactly.
who are about to drive.
Right. Yeah, you're going to soon have 3 teenagers with each having their own car and
friends with cars,
golf carts galore everywhere, whatever your style is. But yeah, no, those are all really, really valid points. So for sure.
Yep. No, I agree. I think those are really, really critical points. And in a lot of those instances, because we've helped a lot of clients that are either upsizing, getting a larger home, or downsizing, transitioning into a different stage of life and looking for a smaller home. And in a lot of those instances, they have a home they need to sell before they purchase
Yep.
another home.
A lot of those, don't
So
they?
we had probably close to a dozen of those transactions last year,
Yeah.
where we had clients where we had two properties closing simultaneously. We were helping them sell the one property and buy the new property, and those had to close at the same time. So there's definitely some logistics that need to be coordinated with that.
And I will tell you, I think it's our communication, because we really have not had any. I'm trying to think. I don't think we've had one single one that didn't close. And I do believe that is a strong communication thing with the agents on the other side.
Tons of follow up with every
and being proactive,
step of the way.
Right, being proactive and very communicative of when the inspections have cleared, and so the other one knows, and being back and forth. And we've had them from out of state where they had to close a property in another state, and we're buying here. We've also had both in the same town, and so that's a huge plus, and it's a tightrope that you have to walk, right? But I think when you're transparent with the other side, everybody's working for the same goal, and 100% can be done. And it's really great, because then you don't have to sell, go rent, go buy, whatever. You can just move from one to the other. I will say too, we do have a lot of clients too. I have my SRES, Senior Real Estate Specialist, that is dealing with the seniors. And, we've had several friends and other people where one of their parents passed away and the other one was left. And I'll just talk about one specific story, but real good friends of ours reached out, and mom had passed away. Their dad was thinking about selling his house. And the daughters, everybody's kind of walking on eggshells. Everybody wanted to be respectful of the dad. And the dad is very active. He loves bowling and all kinds of active things. But bowling alley was number one on his list. He wanted to go look at properties. And he wanted to go look at mobile homes. And the daughters, he had a beautiful 4-bedroom, 2-bath house with a pool in Satellite Beach. And they were a little bit freaked out that he wanted to go look at mobile homes. And, I'm a firm believer in, he is my client, and I'm going to honor what he wants to go look at. It's a process. So in talking to the adult children, it's a process, and it has to be their decision. And it has to, even though you want better for them or you want more for them, they're still an adult. It's still their decision, and you still have to be respectful of that. So I said, listen, I'm going to show him whatever he wants to see. And that's what we did. We found, mobile homes near bowling alleys because he wanted to be close to the bowling alleys.
Right.
And, we would look through them. And in his own time, he realized, this maybe this isn't what I want, right? And all in my mind, I was thinking there was this one over 55 plus community that I thought would be perfect. But, even though in my mind I thought that probably would be where we would end up, I still walked him through the process, and he chose what he wanted to go look at. And eventually we got there. But he had one of the daughters come and look at one mobile home, and she literally was beside herself. She was telling me this can't happen. I go, listen, he needs to come. He will figure out what is the right place for him. Don't worry. And it all worked out fine. But it is a process. You just have to be patient and honor and respect.
Yep.
For sure. Absolutely. So we do have a lot of investor clients as well. And I think we have them kind of in two camps. The ones that are like, I wouldn't say flippers, because a lot of the ones we use are
value add.
Quality,
They're going to value add to a property.
But they buy it with the intention of
selling at a profit
within a year at a large profit. And then we have the ones that are, more of a long holding it, and want more income out of it, like a long-term type thing. Why don't we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So we've helped just dozens of different investors of different types, both looking for short-term rental properties, Airbnb properties. Also, we've done a few apartment complex deals with clients looking for long-term rental properties. We did one a few months back. It was a 44 unit up in Mariana, Florida, up in the Panhandle. So those clients are looking for different things, but I think it's, the best thing that we can do is have a conversation with that client to help them determine what exactly they're looking for.
Right.
How much capital do they have available to invest in the purchase of this property? Any value add that needs to be done to the property? What are their expectations as far as cash flow from the property?
Yeah.
Do they have debt service that they're going to need to do in association with that property? And how can we best help them accomplish that debt service? And within that, we're going to help them determine what is the true market value of that property, what is the true income potential of that property, what are the costs associated with attaining that income level for that property and managing that property. And it's got to pencil out. At the end of the day, it's got to pencil out and it's got to yield the proper return for them in order for it to be a viable option for them to purchase. And I think what you just said,
penciling out. So the investors, it's all about a formula. It's all about the numbers, right? So I find it to be a little bit easier sometimes because you can take the emotion out of it, because I think sometimes you can make bad choices emotionally. You just love this quaint little property, right? But it's not penciling out. Like it's going to be a money pit otherwise. And I think providing that education with investors, although some of the investors already know all this, of course. And again, those are the greatest ones because they already know. If they already know their numbers and they already know, then they're just simply looking to see what pencils out, and we're finding that for them. But a lot of them are getting into it. They need education on it, and that's one of the things that we can definitely provide for them. But again, just like with a first-time home buyer, it's asking the questions and really helping them narrow down what it is that they're looking for. What do they want out of this particular investment?
Right. And making a decision what works best for them, whether it's a long-term rental property or a short-term rental property. And then we have a lot of different folks that we partner with who can provide income estimates that are very market specific and accurate as far as the potential for the income for those properties, and also help get some really good cost numbers together for them as far as what their expenses are going to be. We have a lot of tradespeople that we have great partnerships with that can help with estimates on value add. And, so we're really, excited to be able to offer that kind of, that full gambit of services from the standpoint of being able to help them best determine what will work for them and their investment needs.
Yeah. So what would you say is one of the things you love most about being a realtor?
I think the variety of situations and people.
Darn it, that was mine. It's never boring.
that we work with, and just the folks we work from all kinds of different industries, all kinds of walks of life, and
it's such a joy to see a first time family, right? A first time home buyer. It's also awesome some of the businesses that we've worked with, like Tees and More up in Titusville. Just what a cool shop. Meet people having their own business, starting something, and watching it thrive, going from a smaller location to a bigger one because it's thriving.
Yep.
And it's a super cool concept.
Helping people who have an expanding business find a new location for that business.
And watching their entrepreneurial dreams and mind.
It's very cool. It's very exciting.
It's really cool to see what they're doing, and it's such a variety of people that live in our community. It's amazing how many musicians and all kinds of people that live here. It's really cool. Jeff, I asked you what your hesitation was about working, because for like 4 years I tried to. Well, actually, I got my real estate license to work with you, and then when you told me no, that was never going to happen, I was like, wait, what? So I knew we would be great together because in real estate there are so many different hats and things that we do. We're not a door. I mean, so many people think we put a sign in the yard or we open a door, but with between marketing and contacts and nurturing leads and relationship building and the after and so many things. And I don't think one human
and a resource for people in their time of need is
always
something
right?
that's just.
I don't think one person is actually able to do all those things.
Yep.
And what I know about you is you are 100% opposite of me. My strengths are not your strengths, and for sure your strengths are my weaknesses. But I knew if I had you with me, we would literally be the full person to really provide the best possible service and knowledge and everything to our clients. I knew we would be great together. I knew it in my gut. That's why I never gave up. I'm so glad you said yes. We had our best year ever.
Yeah, no, it was a great year,
Yeah.
and I think that we're both 100% focused on our clients without a doubt. And the thing is that we both see different things, and I think together we see a much more well-rounded picture than having a solo agent who's going to
100%.
provide to a client, because you've got
Yeah.
two people on your team fighting, to
And thinking of
to
the
take
things
care
that,
of
yeah,
to take care of you and take care of the things that people aren't thinking about. Because we do we think a tremendous amount about our clients, and anytime we're helping them buy or sell a property, we're extremely involved all the way through and well beyond the sale.
Yeah.
To check up and see anything that we can help provide additional support with. So it's a good team.
Yeah. Well, I love working with you.
Love working with you too.
A few bumps in the way, but we're there now.
Yep.
It's been good.